Thank you. Hi, I'm Guy Kawasaki, and I'll give you a little bit more information than Chris gave you about me, which he gave you none. So I'm one of the co-founders of Garage Technology Ventures, but I'm here in the guise of a speaker today about the topic of enchantment. And I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I worked for Apple from 1983 to 1987. I was Apple's second software evangelist, so it was my job to convince people to write Macintosh software. After working at Apple for 4 years, I left to start my own software company, and then I became a writer and a speaker. I returned to Apple as an Apple chief evangelist, and then I stayed there another few more years. Then I left Apple again to start Garage Technology Ventures, where I still am. Along the way, I wrote about 10 books. This is my 10th. You'd think I'd get it right by now. So this is my 10th and maybe my final book. And I wanted to basically pass along my knowledge of how to enchant people. I started my career in the jewelry business even before Apple, and that was a business of enchantment because you're actually selling commodities in the jewelry business. It might be an expensive commodity like a diamond or a gold, but it is still a commodity. So it's all about enchanting people with your design. And so I became a big fan of Robert Cialdini, who wrote a book called Influence, which I highly recommend, and also a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I wanted to put my own sort of 2 cents into the marketplace about how to influence and woo and persuade people. And I came up with this word enchantment. I wanted to own a word, just like Tom Peters owns excellence. I want to own the word enchantment. And so that's the goal. I've been in the tech business for about 25 years now, which is rather amazing in itself. And one thing that I've noticed, other than the speakers who appeared here today, pretty much every tech speaker sucks. And so that's one key point about most tech speakers. And the second key point about most tech speakers is they go long. And that is a difficult combination to deal with, because if you suck and you go short, so what? It's okay. And if you're great and you go long, that's also okay. But if you suck and you go long, it's like being stupid and arrogant. It's like having a software product that's slow and hard to use. And it's a bad combination. And so what I've done is for all my speeches, I use a top 10 format. So you know there are 10 key points today. This way, if you think I suck, you know approximately how much longer I'll suck because I have 10 points. And so what I'm going to do today is explain, to the best of my knowledge, how you can enchant people. I think entrepreneurs in particular need to be enchanting people because you need to enchant many constituencies, potential investors, potential customers, potential partners, and potential employees. And so being an entrepreneur is all about using a lack of resources as opposed to an overabundance. And you can overcome the lack of resources by becoming more enchanting. So that's the goal here, right? So the first thing you need to do to become a truly enchanting person is to be likable. Now, if you think about it, have you ever been enchanted by someone you didn't like? Probably not. And the 3 key starting points to likability starts with a great smile. This is what's called a Pan Am smile. This flight attendant is not truly, truly happy to see the customers. And she's only using her lower jaw muscle. She's kind of grinning and bearing it and trying to act happy. This is not a good smile. A great smile is called a Duchenne smile. This is a smile that uses both the eyes and the jaw. This is a picture of Mary Smith, a Facebook marketing expert. Highly recommend you read her books and her writing. The key to a Duchenne smile is that you have crow's feet. So actually, crow's feet is a good thing if you want to be likable. You want crow's feet. No more Botox, no more plastic surgery. I mean, think of the money you saved by coming to this conference today. So when I decided to put Mary's picture in here, I sent her an email and I said, Mary, I have good news for you and bad news. The good news is I will tell tens of thousands of people every year who you are because you're in my enchantment speech. The bad news is you're in my enchantment speech because you really have crow's feet. She's a good sport. Let me use her picture. Mary Smith, you want to make a Duchenne smile. Step number 1 in likability. Step number 2 in likability is to dress for a tie. You can dress in 3 ways for an audience. First, you could underdress. This is when you know everybody will be in business attire, but you're going to wear jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers. You are essentially saying to the people, I don't respect you. You could also overdress. When you overdress, you are essentially saying to people, I'm better than you. I'm richer than you. I have better taste than you. Somehow you're communicating this vertical distance with your audience. This also makes you not so likable. What makes you likable is if you dress for peers, roughly equal. So dress roughly equal. I notice a lot of you are not wearing aloha shirts today. However, the concept is dress roughly equal to the people you're meeting with. And the third component of likability is the perfect handshake. This being a kind of a technical audience, I put up the formula here for you. This is the formula for the perfect handshake. I will make this PDF available later. You do not have to write this down right now. But it is about the distance between you, the firmness of your grip, the length of the handshake, the Duchenne smile, the temperature of your hand, the humidity of your hand. All these things make the perfect handshake. So this may seem like 3 rather simple things: great handshake, great smile, dressing for equals, but it's the key to likability. Step 1 is likability. Now, I'm going to show you an example of someone who is truly likable, someone you should emulate. This is a picture of myself with Richard Branson. This picture was taken in the speaker ready room in a conference in Moscow. Richard Branson asked me if I flew on Virgin, and I said, you know, Richard, I have to tell you, I've never flown on Virgin, and it's because I'm a United Airlines global services level flyer. So that's the highest level of United Airlines, and I don't really want to jeopardize my high standing with United by flying on any other airline. So at that moment, he just got on his knees and he started polishing my shoes with his jacket. And that is the day I started flying Virgin America. So I've been flying Virgin America ever since then. That was the turning point. And let me just tell you something. You know, if you think about it, how many of you are not using any Apple products right now? I mean, no Apple product, not whatsoever, okay? It's going to be a long time before Steve Jobs gets down on his knees and polishes your shoes. Okay, so just don't hold your breath, all right? And you might also look at Richard Branson's smile. That is also a Duchenne smile. I mean, he is just a seriously happy guy. This picture, I must admit, is slightly out of focus. It was because of when I first met Richard in this circumstance, I had no idea what would happen. I didn't know he was going to ask me if I flew Virgin and get on his knees. So I had a camera with me, but it's a digital SLR, and I had the focus set to manual, not automatic. And so when he did this, I handed my camera to this person. I said, take this picture. I want this moment recorded. And it was set to manual focus, so she didn't focus it, so that's why this picture is blurry. And so that's why I put it in black and white, because it looks less blurry. But it is blurry. So, point number 1, you want the likability of Richard Branson. Now, you can be likable, but not trustworthy. For example, you could like a celebrity, but not trust a celebrity. Charlie Sheen. You might like Charlie Sheen. That doesn't mean you trust Charlie Sheen. So let's go from likability to the next level, which is trustworthiness. The key to trustworthiness is to understand that it is not a chicken or egg issue. There is definitely an order. The order is you have to trust others, and then they will trust you. Did you know that if you buy an Amazon ebook, a Kindle book, you have 7 days to return it, no questions asked? Amazon is basically telling everybody, we trust you. You might be able to read that book in 7 days and return it for full refund, but we trust you. They have taken the onus upon themselves. We trust you, therefore, hopefully you'll trust us. Zappos is a great example. Millions of women trust Zappos enough to buy shoes sight unseen. If you had told me that a company was going to start to sell women's shoes without them trying it on or looking at it, I would have told you, you are nuts. No woman would do that. And yet, millions of women do this. It's because they have trusted Zappos. And one of the main elements of that trust is that Zappos pays shipping both ways. And the third and classic example of trusting is Nordstrom. the company that trusts people. You can return almost anything to Nordstrom, even if you didn't buy it at Nordstrom. There's apocryphal stories of returning tires to Nordstrom, and Nordstrom surely doesn't sell tires. So the point here is, if you want to be trusted, you have to trust first. The second point in trustworthiness is that you should become a baker, not an eater. A baker sees the world very differently from an eater. An eater sees the world as a zero-sum game. What I eat, you don't eat. What you eat, I don't eat. This is a limited pie. A baker sees the world very differently. A baker says, I can bake more pies. I can bake bigger pies. Everybody can eat more. You want to be a baker if you want to be trustworthy. You know, when Starbucks started, it didn't say that the total market for coffee is the addition of all the coffee shops in the United States. Let's figure out how many little coffee shops there are. That's the total addressable market. Starbucks expanded the pie for drinking coffee. They didn't simply rob the pie from independent coffee shops. So you want to be a baker, not an eater. And the final thing is to default to a yes attitude. That is, when you meet people, you should always be thinking, how can I help the person? If the person asks me to do something, I will by default say yes. Now, you might think that this is a dangerous policy, but I will tell you, I've been doing this for a long time, and very seldom do people ask you to do unreasonable things. And in those rare instances, when people ask you to do unreasonable things, usually that person is not worth enchanting. So you can live with this attitude. It really works quite well. When you meet people at this conference, always be thinking, how can I help the other person? It will make you a very trustworthy person. So that's step 2. Step 3 is to perfect your product or your service, because it is much easier to enchant people with something that's great than a piece of crap. Believe me, I've tried it both ways. It is much easier to have great product or great service. So let's talk about what makes a great product or service. I call it diciness. The D in dicey stands for depth. Great products, great services are deep. Lots of features, lots of functionality. They are not simplistic. The I stands for intelligent. Great products, great services. When you look at them, you have an appreciation that the company that created this product or service understood your pain, understood the opportunity to fix your pain, understood how it could make your life better. They applied intelligence to this. I'll show you an example. This is a GT500 Ford Mustang. It has 550 horsepower. There's a similar Mustang that just came out called the Boss 302. It has 444 horsepower, roughly 4.5 times the Prius or 5.5 times the Prius, just, you know, if you care about these things. So I'm just lusting to buy either a Boss 302 or this GT500. It's a good car for like middle-aged Asian American going through midlife crisis, needs to compensate for his feelings of inadequacy. Perfect car. Perfect car. However, I have 4 children. They are 6, 9, 15, and 17. The 17-year-old has a license. The 15-year-old is getting a permit. The thought of unleashing my 2 sons upon society when they are borrowing my car is irresponsible. You know, 2 teenage boys in a 550 horsepower car, it just doesn't make sense. So that's one of the reasons why I hesitate to buy this car. But I found out that Ford has a very intelligent product. It's called the My Key. And what the My Key enables you to do is program the top speed of a car into the key. So I could, in those rare instances when it's necessary, let my kids drive this Mustang and control the top speed at 55 miles an hour. The My Key does not control how long it takes to get to 55, but it will control the top speed of the car. I think that's a very intelligent product. The C is for complete. Great software, for example, is not just the digital download. It's the software, the OEMs, the VARs, the resellers, the app developers, the API, man, that is a bright flash. The APIs, the webinars, the conferences, all that good stuff that makes up, it's the documentation, it's the online support group, it's all that stuff that makes a complete software product. Great products are complete. They are also empowering. They make you feel more creative and more productive. That's the secret to Macintosh. people who use Macintoshes think of Macintoshes as an extension of themselves, that it makes them more creative and more productive. And the final E is elegant. Great products are designed well. So, as you create your products or services, if you want to create something that's enchanting, ask yourself, is it deep, intelligent, complete, empowering, and elegant? Are you rolling the dicey? The next thing is to be able to describe your product in something that's short, sweet, and swallowable. Like this ad that was made for the Metro transportation system of New York right after 9/11. Short, sweet, and swallowable. If you see something, say something. Made by an ad agency called Corey K. Most companies create mission statements, for example. How many of you have a mission statement in your organization? You know, hold your hand up. You should be proud of the fact that you wasted 2 days doing this. So, I don't know how people make mission statements, but in my day, when we were in the mission statement making business, it was a 2-day offsite, right? Particularly if you work for a larger organization, you take your top 25 or 50 employees, and right now you'd probably use the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay, because you need to make this offsite at a place with a world-class golf course, this high correlation golf and mission statement. It's 2 days. You hire an outside meeting facilitator. You have to hire an outside meeting facilitator because no one on your executive team can lead. If you had a leader, you wouldn't need the offsite. So you hire Moonbeam. Moonbeam is an executive coach, and she's also Lamaze instructor. It's a dual-track career because there's similar functionality. You're pushing out a mission statement, pushing out a baby, same thing. So Moonbeam drives a Prius, God help you, not a Ford Mustang. Drives a Prius, she's a vegetarian, Birkenstocks, all the good stuff, okay? So on the first day, she has you form cross-functional teams with the people at the company you can't stand. So engineering has to work with marketing, sales has to work with ops, all right? And you do these things like you climb ropes together, you turn around and you close your eyes and you fall into each other's arms. Kumbaya, at the end of the day, you're all communicating better, you love the people you couldn't stand in the morning. The second day you're in a small room, there's a pad of paper, you got your magic marking pen, and you're going to create this mission statement. There's 50 of you in the room. Each of you figured out, you're given, man, do you have to keep flashing? Can you like get a faster lens so that you don't have to flash so much? So you're 50 people in a room, you figure you gave up 2 days of your life. You should at least get one word in the mission statement, right? So now you have 50-word mission statement. And this mission statement is going to be all-encompassing. It's good for the shareholders, the employees, the customers, the vendors. And if you're in the West Coast in particular, you also have to throw in something in the mission statement for the whales and the dolphins. By contrast, I think particularly for a tech startup, you should create a mantra, 2 or 3 words. The mantra for Nike should be authentic athletic performance. Authentic athletic performance. Just do it as their slogan. The mantra for Target, democratize design. The mantra for eBay, democratize commerce. My personal mantra, empower people. 2 words. Make it short, sweet, and swallowable. Not 50 words, not a whole bunch of acronyms, not all your IEEE standards. Short, sweet, and swallowable. And the last point, before I go on, this is a sign that I took a picture of to illustrate the opposite of short, sweet, and swallowable. This is a sign that has 4 paragraphs of text to teach you how to cross a street. This sign was photographed on the campus of Brown University. So in the Ivy League, you need 4 paragraphs to cross the street. I thought maybe it's only a Providence thing, but really no. The next day I went to Yale, and this was same sign on the campus of Yale. So this is an Ivy League thing. That's not short, sweet, and swallowable. The next point is to conduct a pre-mortem. This is a piece of advice I really hope you take to heart. So a post-mortem is obvious. After your product or service dies, you try to figure out why it died. The problem with doing that is, A, it's too late. And B, the people who caused the death are probably not there. They're probably fired, or they're quit, or they're reorged, or something. They're gone, right? And it's like really hostile. Nobody gives a damn. They just want to move on with their life. You don't learn much at a post-mortem. It is too late. A pre-mortem is this scenario. The leader of the group says to the group, let's pretend that our product failed. And let's come up with all the hypothetical reasons why our product could fail. The software is slow, Salesforce is unsophisticated, marketing poorly positioned it, Google introduced a similar product for free, whatever it is. Come up with all the reasons, and then let's go down through those lists of reasons and see if we can eliminate those reasons so we never have a post-mortem. It's a very useful exercise. Now, you may be wondering, what's the difference between a pre-mortem and the leader saying, okay, does anybody have any issues or concerns? That is a very different question. Because when the leader asks that question, if the marketing person raises his or her hand and says, my concern is that the software is too slow, that person has just drawn a nice bullseye on his or her chest. That person is now seen as a naysayer, a non-team player, a laggard. The software guy hates her because, she's calling out his lousy software. Lots of things can happen when you do that. So most people will not bring it up in that circumstance. But in a pre-mortem, the rules are different. Let's pretend that we failed. Let's come up with the list of reasons why we failed, and then let's come up with how we can prevent any of those reasons from happening so we never have a post-mortem. Conduct a pre-mortem. The next thing to do is actually launch your product or service. And it starts with a great story. Tell a great story. The story of how you and your buddy, you were frustrated because the only place you could use a computer was at this big company you worked at, or at a bank, or at a university, or at a research institution. That you wanted a computer that you could have in your house, that you could carry around. You wanted a personal computer, so you started Apple. Or your girlfriend wanted to be able to sell her Pez dispensers online, and there was no way for her to do it, so you started eBay, which is a total bullshit story, but it is a great story. It is a great story. Tell this story, not about the patent-pending, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting stuff that you do. Don't ever use the word revolutionary in your pitch, because no entrepreneur has ever come to Garage and said, we have a trailing edge, hard to use, no patents pending, intellectual property that we cannot protect product. And you're the rare occurrence where someone said, oh yeah, we have patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting product. No one else can do what we do. We're a proven team in a proven market with a proven technology. We hear that every day. From shrimp farming to semiconductors to life sciences, everybody says that. You need to tell a story, how your sister died of cancer, so you dedicated your life to curing cancer. How your girlfriend wanted to sell Pez dispensers, how you needed a personal computer, how you're shooting so much video and there's no way to share it, so you started YouTube. How you figured there must be a better way to search, there must be a better algorithm than what Inktomi is using or what AltaVista is using. So why don't we measure the number of inbound links and we could start a search company called Google and search would be better. Tell a story. Tell a story. The next thing is to plant many seeds. I believe there are two forms of marketing. Marketing 1.0. Marketing 1.0 is hierarchical. You suck up to the A-listers, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Forbes, Fortune, Wired, Fast Company, Entrepreneur. You suck up to these very visible A-listers. You suck up to them, or if you don't do the sucking up, you hire a PR firm to do the sucking up for you. Okay, $15,000 a month, you get an Oriental art history from Wellesley to suck up to the tech writer for you. The goal here is that you suck up to the tech writer tries your software, tries your product, loves it, tells the great unwashed masses and the hoi polloi, you should use this product. I, as an analyst, I, as an expert, I, as an oracle, am telling you, the hoi polloi, the great unwashed masses, this is good. I make the product. Maybe the Wall Street Journal made Lotus 1-2-3, right? If you are old enough to remember what Lotus 1-2-3 is. I think that marketing 2.0, because of Twitter and Facebook and blogging, has flattened the world. It's flattened that hierarchy. And now, the way it works is, nobodies are the new somebodies. And people that you never heard of. Lonely Boy 15 on Twitter, with 15 followers. might be the most important person you can reach. Because Lonely Boy 15 will become an evangelist for your product or service and tell his 15 followers. And their 15 followers will tell Tiffany. And Tiffany will tell Celeste. And Celeste will tell, Lonely Girl 15. And on and on and on. And one day you wake up and thousands of people are using your product. And at that point, the A-listers have to write about your product. Because if they don't, they will seem clueless. Twitter is 5 years old. And I'd like you to show me a story that appeared 5 years ago where any A-lister said, I have seen the future of communications and news and microblogging. I've seen the future. It's this company you never heard of called Twitter. And it enables you to send out 140-character text messages. And right now, people are writing that their cat rolled over. But mark my words, someday Twitter will bring down entire totalitarian governments. Someday, when we were hunting Osama bin Laden, somebody in that valley will say, oh, there's a lot of helicopters right now. And Twitter live that the Navy SEALs are going after Osama bin Laden. Twitter is going to be the most powerful form of communications ever, right? Show me that article that's 5 years old. The truth is that about 4 years ago, a lot of nobodies at South by Southwest embraced Twitter. They just loved Twitter. And it spread from there. And after it became successful and it was on fire is when the A-list journalists got on the bandwagon. Okay? Plant many seeds. It's not so easy to find Lonely Boy 15. He doesn't have 5 million followers. He doesn't write for the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, or the Washington Post. You have to find this person. And the way you do it is you just put it out there. You should assume as you're creating your product, you need to put it out there. Ergo, you need to figure out how to make it a demo version. You have to figure out how people are not going to be, reading 100 pages of documentation to get started. The onus is upon you. When Enchantment came out, the book, typically a business book publisher seeds 150 copies, okay, to the Washington Post, New York Times, Publishers Weekly, and I did a very different thing. I seeded this book to 1,600 people. I seeded it to basically any blogger who asked for it. And so now there are about 350 reviews of the book, and I don't mean just by small business, entrepreneur, social media bloggers. It's been reviewed by vegetarian blogs, by dog trainer blogs. I also own the esthetician blog market. Estheticians love the book Enchantment. One day they're writing about mascara, the next day it's lip gloss, and the next day it's enchantment. It's about inner beauty. Hallelujah. Using the kind of pitch that many of you use, imagine if I got 1% of the women who are interested in beauty to buy enchantment. How hard could that be? You know how big that market would be? 1% of the people, of women interested in beauty, if they bought this book, do you know how successful it would be? The point here is to plant many seeds. The next thing is to use salient points. What you see on the left is what the industry likes to use. What you see on the right is what people care about. It's not so much miles per gallon, it is yearly costs. If you're in a not-for-profit business, you like to talk in terms of dollars. What donors really care about is, if I give you $100, how many months of food does that buy for that family in Ethiopia? That's what they really care about. And if you're in the gadget business, you want to talk in terms of gigabytes. People want to talk in terms of songs. People do not wake up in the morning saying, if only I had a 64 gigabyte iPhone. They wake up thinking about the number of songs and movies and how many apps there are. So use the kind of points on the right side of the screen, not the left. The next thing is to overcome resistance. You will find as an entrepreneur that, ironically, the more innovative your product or service, the more resistance you'll encounter. You would think that if you have something really great, the resistance would just lay down and people would beat a path to your door. I've never seen that happen. This is one example. In the mid-'80s, there was a lot of resistance for retailers to stock electronic games. The electronic game business was tarnished. And so Nintendo realized it had a problem. So what it did is it repositioned its electronic game into an electronic toy by adding a robot to the game. So now it told retailers, we have a toy. In fact, it was even better. It's an educational toy. So now kids were asking their parents for an educational toy to learn robotics for Christmas. which is very different than asking their parents for an electronic game for Christmas. More ways to overcome resistance, to provide social proof. That is, to have very tangible ways for the world to see that you are achieving success. I think that Apple did this with the iPod. It's because of the white earbud. I don't know of any other MP3 player that had a white earbud prior to an iPod. So when you saw white earbuds, it translated into iPod. And the more white earbuds you saw, the more you're convinced that an iPod must be good. So guess what? You bought an iPod. When you bought an iPod, you added to the pool of white earbuds. So the more white earbuds you saw, the more successful iPod became. The more people who bought iPods, the more white earbuds you saw. It became an upward spiral. Somehow try to show social proof. Lots of people are using your product or service. The next thing is to find a bright spot. I'll give you an analog example and a tech example. The analog example is in Vietnam. A book by Chip and Dan Heath mentions a case where someone was studying the causes of malnutrition in Vietnam. Now, when you introduce a product or service, you may have two sort of philosophical ways of dealing with resistance. One is looking at all the places where you're hitting resistance and trying to overcome the resistance. The other is to find the bright spot. So you may be encountering resistance in all these places, but there's that one bright spot. In the case of Vietnam, the bright spot in malnutrition was that some families in the villages had healthier children. Why was that? It wasn't because they were wealthier. It was because the mothers of those kids were putting shrimps and crabs and vegetable matter from the rice paddies into the plain rice meals. That was the simple difference. Okay? That was the bright spot in malnutrition, and he focused on that bright spot. Technology example. In the mid-'80s, Apple wanted to make Macintosh a spreadsheet, database, and word processing machine. We were 0 for 3 there. However, there was a bright spot. The bright spot was desktop publishing. The bright spot was caused by PageMaker. PageMaker created this bright spot, desktop publishing. And desktop publishing saved Apple. If it wasn't for desktop publishing, there would be no Apple today. We would all have phones that had real keypads. We would have phones that lasted for longer than a day on a charge. We would have phones that were on fast data networks. It would be a different world. Okay? All this PageMaker was a gift from God to Apple Computer. I believe in God, and one of the reasons why I believe in God is there is no other explanation for Apple's continued success than the existence of a benevolent God. Okay? Find the bright spot. What is your desktop publishing? You can try and kill yourself and convince Fortune 500 CIOs to use Macintosh for spreadsheet, database, and word processor, or you can focus on the bright spot, desktop publishing. The next thing is to enchant all the influencers. You know, Bill and I have been talking to entrepreneurs for a long time. In many cases, the entrepreneur says, you know, can you introduce us to the CXO, CIO, CTO, CMO of, I don't know, pick a company, Amazon. Can you introduce us to Jeff Bezos? Because, you know, my buddy and I in the garage, we've just raised our first round of $1 million, and we want you to introduce us to Jeff Bezos so we can convince Jeff Bezos to throw out his entire infrastructure to use this super new kind of server architecture that we're going to invent. Okay? So I'll tell you something. The higher you go in most organizations, the thinner the air. And the thinner the air, the more difficult it is to support intelligent life. So if you focus on CXO level people, you'll be dealing with the dumbest people in the organization, because that's where the air is thinnest. You need to work with all the influencers, the middles and the bottoms, the database administrators, the customer service managers, you know, the regional managers, the secretaries, administrative aides, and temps. You need to enchant all the influencers. In a consumer space, you know, many people assume you should enchant the dad. Now, you'd be wrong 80% of the time. You really should enchant the mom. Sometimes it's the sister-in-law. Sometimes it's the grandfather. In my family, just to lay things on the line, it is the daughter. Basically, if you enchant my daughter, you got me. Whatever my daughter wants, she gets. It's just that simple. While I'm on the subject of giving my daughter whatever she wants, I'm going to make an appeal to you that will astound you. If you're tweeting this live, this is your big chance. I'm telling you that if you want to learn about marketing, you should rent or buy Never Say Never, the Justin Bieber movie. How many of you have seen Never Say Never? Okay, 3 of you. The rest of you suck at marketing. So, the reason why you should see that movie is because you will learn several things from that movie. First of all, you'll see that social media made Justin Bieber. YouTube and his mom made him successful. He wasn't an invention of Disney, okay? It was YouTube that did it. It's a great story. No advertising budget, no Disney manufacturing of, Backstreet Boys. It was a very, very interesting story how his mother did it. That's number 1. Number 2, you'll learn how hard that kid works. He's on an 86-stop tour in that movie. 86 concerts. People like me, we make keynotes, and we think we work our asses off. It was so hard what we do. We need a special green room. We need special water that Tibetan monks collected. We need a special chair made in Germany, right? And we need our entourage to be with us, and we need our people around us, and we need these sky blue towels, and our hotel room has to face the west and be all feng shui laid out. And, we need our own hairdresser. We know all that crap. And Justin Bieber's making 86 stops on a tour. You learn how hard he works. And then you'll see, talk about viral marketing. He has people go out into the parking lots of concerts and find girls who don't have tickets and gives them tickets. It will bring tears to your eyes when you see how joyful those girls are when they get the tickets. So talk about word-of-mouth marketing. Watch that scene. And the final thing you'll pick up in there is that he has this great relationship with his vocal coach. I mean, many of you aspire to have mentors. You should see the relationship between Justin Bieber and his vocal coach. It is a relationship to envy, how well they work together. So enchant all the influencers. See, like all these people are leaving now because I told them to see Justin Bieber. It's okay. These are the marketing losers. Okay, the next point. Why is everybody leaving? Oh, where are they going? Denmark? You're going to Denmark? Wow, jæskedig. Step number 6 is to endure. God, I knew I shouldn't have brought up the Justin Bieber again. You ever hear of a tech startup from Denmark? So, tough guy, huh? Actually, my wife is Danish. I love evil skeevers. 6th point is to make your enchantment endure. The Grateful Dead has endured for decades. Believe it or not, the Grateful Dead sets up an area at the concert for tapers so people can pirate their music and spread it. Imagine that. Holy RIAA. The RIAA is suing little old ladies for downloading cello music, right? Meanwhile, the Grateful Dead encourages taping of its concerts to share it. That makes the Grateful Dead endure. More ways to endure. Build this ecosystem. Like I said, a complete product has all these things. Conferences, online documentation, APIs, all that good stuff. Next thing, invoke reciprocation. This is a carpet that depicts the war between Ethiopia and Italy. When Italy invaded Ethiopia, the people of Mexico, believe it or not, raised money and gave it to the Ethiopians. About 90 years later, there was a big earthquake in Mexico. The people of Ethiopia, even though they were in the middle of a famine, raised money and gave the people of Mexico money. That's how strong reciprocation is. Right after the Civil War, the people of New York bought the people of Charleston a fire truck. Actually, 2. The first one was on a ship that sank. 150 years later, the people of Charleston reciprocated by buying the people of New York a fire truck after 9/11. That's how strong reciprocation is. 2 power tips about reciprocation for you from Robert Cialdini. First, when you do something for people. When you do something for people. Is this like saying we're out of here? I don't know. I don't care. When you do, I know I'm running late, but like I said, if you're great and you're long, it's okay. So, when you do something for people, because you're defaulting to yes, okay? So this is how it works. So the person says, thank you for helping me. And what do you say? So let's pretend that I did something for you, okay? And you say thank you. Say thank you. Okay. And I say you're welcome. That's not the optimal response. The optimal response is you're welcome. I know you would do the same for me. I'm telling you, you have class. You're a good person. I know you would do the same for me. I'm also telling you, I know you will do the same for me. That's the optimal response. Second thing about reciprocation, enable people to pay you back. She might want to ask me to do more things, but she hesitates because she already owes me something. She doesn't want to get greater in debt. She doesn't want to look like some greedy person who's asking for a lot. I might be perfectly willing to help her more, but how would I know what to do for her if she doesn't ask? She won't ask because she feels indebtedness. So for the better of our relationship, for both of us, I need to enable her to pay me back. That clears the deck. She can ask me to do more. We can have a deeper relationship. You're doing people a favor by enabling them to pay you back. Okay? Second power tip about reciprocation. Third thing about making your enchantment endure. Do not rely on money. If you believe that one of the key selling points of your organization is that you provide commissions or affiliate fees, and that's the key to your success, I ask you to revisit your assumptions. Money is typically the enemy of enchantment. Because if you're giving the money, you have to ask yourself, are we buying people's loyalty? If you're receiving the money, you have to ask yourself, am I telling people to use this product or service because I truly believe or because I'm being paid a bounty or an affiliate fee? Do not rely on money. The next point is to be able to be a great presenter. Enchanters can present. Let me give you 3 tips about presenting. First of all, customize the introduction. Customize the introduction of your presentation. Just your little opening remarks. Just show that you know where you are, that you can have somehow gotten information about the audience. Now, this is a picture of my LG washer and dryer. The scenario here is that I was speaking in Rio de Janeiro to the Latin American management of LG. After I got to Rio de Janeiro, I figured out I'm an LG customer. If I was really on top of this, I would have taken a picture of my LG washer and dryer and put it in my presentation so I can show all the managers of LG, I'm one of yours, baby. I bought that washer. I love this washer. This washer is a steam cycle. I've never used that steam cycle, but I thought it was so cool that I bought this washer and dryer with the steam cycle. But I was already in Rio, so I sent a text message to my 2 older boys, the same older boys that would not let drive a Mustang. And I was trying to invoke reciprocation. Hello, this is Dad. You know the dad that bought you each an iPhone 4? I want you to stop playing Call of Duty for a while, go downstairs, take a picture of our washer and dryer, text it to me right away. I'm going on deck. I need it right away. 30 minutes go by. Nothing happens. So much for invoking reciprocation. I sent a text message to my older son, Nick. Okay, and this is the text message sequence. I send a text message to my son, Nick. I said, you get my text messages? He says, Noah said he did it. Took the pictures. By the way, since you're talking to LG, can you get us some free TVs? You know, because they're tired of playing Call of Duty, and they're tired of playing Halo on these old analog TVs. They need 60-inch LCD, 1-inch thick, high-definition TVs to play Call of Duty. And you see my answer, doubt it, because there is reciprocation and there is stupidity, okay? So when I travel to other countries, I like to go early, and I take pictures of myself in their country so that when I open up, I can show that I customize the introduction. I'll show you some pictures. This is me in Moscow, where I learned Russians have really big balls. This is me in Edinburgh, where I learned about the gourmet food called haggis, which is like, haggis is to Scotland what poi is to Hawaii, okay? I learned about this guy watching Andrew Zimmern's Bizarre Food. Great show. Before I go anywhere, I watch Andrew Zimmern's show about that country. So, if you go to Chile, you eat guinea pigs because that's what Andrew Zimmern ate. So I did not eat that haggis, I have to tell you. This is me standing in front of Al Jazeera. A very interesting place. I just got back from Doha. Very interesting. One of the most fascinating places. They're just the friendliest people. I'd say they're just as friendly as Canadians, except they don't skate very well. Really, I had a great time at Al Jazeera, believe it or not. I mean, everybody thinks that Al Jazeera is like the Taliban's or Al-Qaeda's news service. Not at all true. I mean, it's really nice people. They're great social media efforts. And this is my favorite picture. This is in Istanbul at the Grand Bazaar, trying on a fez. What else do you do in Istanbul? You try on a fez. And look at that vendor's Duchenne smile. I mean, that guy is an enchanting guy. This is Istanbul. So these are all pictures that I used. And now, the next point of being a great presenter is when you introduce your product, sell your dream. Talk about its coolness, its wonderfulness, how it empowers people, how it changes people's lives. You know, when Steve Jobs introduces a new iPhone, he does not stand up and say, I have the new iPhone 5. It is $188 worth of parts. We put those parts together in China at a company where people tend to commit suicide. We're going to stick you with a 2-year data contract with a service that just sucks. Less bars in more places, okay? That's not how he positions an iPhone. The iPhone is about thinness and coolness and beautiful user interface. And there's an app for that. It'll make you more creative and more productive. You get better dates because of it. You locate people. Sell your dream. And the last point is the guy Kawasaki, 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint. 10 slides in your presentation. It's the optimal number. Some of you who are math people, you ain't noticed. You know, I've used more than 10. You may be wondering, God, you're such a hypocrite. Why are you telling us to use 10 if you use 40 already? Well, you're not me. Second, you should be able to give these 10 slides in 20 minutes. Yes, you have an hour. You have an hour. But, you know, a lot of you are struggling with other operating systems. It might take you 40 minutes to make it hook up with the projector. The last point is 30-point font. The ideal font size is 30 points. If you're using 10, 12, it's because you need to put a lot of text. You're probably going to read the text. The problem with reading your text is one slide into your presentation, the audience is going to figure out you're reading the text. The audience is going to say, aha, bozo reading text. I can read silently to myself faster than this bozo can read it to me, and you'll lose your audience. Now, if you think that the 30-point rule is too dogmatic, I'll give you a rule of thumb. Figure out who the oldest person is in the audience, divide his or her age by 2. Pitching to a 60-year-old VC, 30 points. Admittedly, VCs are getting younger. Someday you may be pitching to a 16-year-old VC. God bless you. Use the 8-point font at that point. But until that day, 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. Number 8. I'm getting to the end. Relax. Microsoft going to throw you out? No. Daniel Lewin's gone. He's out of the building. Don't worry about it. I cleared it with Daniel. Number 8. How to use technology to enchant people. Step number 1. Remove the speed bumps. This is an example of a speed bump. This is CAPTCHA. As you all know, the purpose of CAPTCHA is to reduce the number of people who register for your site. Okay? So, the first word in this CAPTCHA test is Holber. What's the second word? What's the second word? It's Hebrew. Right. It's not Farsi, it's not Korean, it's not Congolese, it's not katakana, hiragana. It's Hebrew. How many know what that Hebrew word is? You know because you heard this speech before. Yes. Believe it or not, I'm not making this up. That Hebrew word is for obstacle. How appropriate is that? How many of you speak Hebrew in this room? How many of you have a Hebrew keyboard who speak Hebrew? Okay, so one of you could register here. Hallelujah. And no wonder you're 1% of your forecast for your venture capitalists. You know, nobody can sign up. Now I'll show you an anti-example. This is Sungevity. Sungevity is in the business of installing solar panels on people's roofs. What's one of the pain in the asses about getting a solar panel installed? You have to set the first appointment. These people have to come to your house, look at your roof, measure your roof, figure out which way is south, all that kind of stuff. Sungevity has eliminated that speed bump. You give it your home address, it goes to Bing, plugging Microsoft here, it goes to Bing, it looks at your home address, it looks at your roof, it draws the solar panel on your roof, it estimates how much those solar panels will cost, how much power it can put out. You haven't scheduled an appointment, you haven't had to be at home, you just gave it your home address. Great example of removing speed bump. Next point is, we need to provide value in social media, not just that your cat rolled over. Information, what happened, insights, what does it mean that what happened, or assistance, how to make it not happen to you. One of these 3 things make you successful in social media. And the next point is the rules of engagement. I think one of the most enchanting things you could do in the digital world, in the virtual world, is very simple, which is answer your email in less than 48 hours. I'll be the first to admit that I can't approach that myself, but if you answer your email in 48 hours, you will be enchanted. You'll be enchanting because nobody does that. Second, you need to enchant many people. Lonely Boy 15 writes to you, answer. Of course you'll answer if Walt Mossberg from the Wall Street Journal writes to you. But what if Lonely Boy 15 writes to you? Answer. Plant many seeds. And the last point is you have to engage all the time. It's not something you do when everything else is done. You need to engage all the... What, are you pulling me on now? Oh, this is a tough audience. They shut the lights, they leave, they come on the stage. Jeez. I'm flexible. 2 last points. How to enchant up. How to enchant someone you work for. Number 1, drop everything when they ask you to do something. Your venture capitalist asks you to do something, drop everything and do it. Might not be optimal, might not be logical, might not even be smart. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. Your boss asks you to do something, drop everything. Do that first. Next point is prototype fast. If your boss asks you to do something, make me a PowerPoint presentation. I need it in 3 days. In 3 hours, show up with an all-text version. Just show up and say, this is what I'm thinking you're asking for. Is this what you're asking for? This is a text version, and then I'll make it beautiful. Basically, you're accomplishing 2 things. One is you're showing that you dropped everything. You show up with a prototype fast. The second thing you're doing is that you're ensuring that you're having a higher quality result, because now there's 3 days to rev this thing, as opposed to showing up the last afternoon before it's due. This is actually what I provided my slide designer to create this presentation, prototype fast. And the third thing is to always deliver bad news early. If you're going into a board meeting where you know you missed your numbers, I know none of you would ever get in that position, but if it ever hypothetically happened to you, tell your board members about the bad news before the board meeting. Don't just spring a surprise and say, guess what? We missed our numbers again. Okay? Let's deliver bad news early. Even better, deliver bad news with a solution. The concept that I'll deliver bad news at the last possible minute because, you know, Deus ex machina, there might be some miracle that solves it right before the board meeting, it never works that way. Deliver bad news early. Now, how to enchant down? How to enchant people who work for you? First of all, provide what Daniel Pink calls a map. You want to enchant an employee? Say, come work for us. You will master new skills. You'll understand social media. You'll understand software programming, debugging, photography, whatever your company does. Provide the ability to master new skills. You will become a better employee by working for us. You'll be working autonomously. We don't breathe down your neck at this organization. And finally, we're working towards a higher purpose. Come work for us. You'll master new skills. Be working independently towards a higher purpose. We're making the world a better place. Next thing, empower action. Say to employees, I think you're smart. I think you have good judgment. I think your heart's in the right place. I empower you to do what's right for the customer. And the last point is to suck it up. Suck it up means that you're willing to do whatever it takes. Like Micro at Dirty Jobs. He goes into the paint factory, the toy factory. He cleans the outside of a skyscraper. He goes underneath the house and digs out the dead rats. He removes the hornet's nest. He'll do anything. Micro, think micro. Never ask your employees to do something that you yourself would not do. Do the dirty job. Very enchanting to an employee. Now, truly I'm coming to the end, okay? So, in the final stages of this book, I held a CrowdSpring cover design contest. This was the winner. I love this, concept of blue morpho, butterfly, metaphors, going through this metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly, enchanting, right? I showed this cover to my publisher. He hated it. Too feminine, too woo-woo, too self-help, too Shirley MacLaine multiple lives, too Marin, too Boulder. No man would buy a book that looked like that. I was very disappointed, but I wanted a butterfly. So being Japanese American, I thought, origami. Origami. Not that I knew anything about origami, but I use Google. So I type in Google origami butterfly. I find this, the Kawasaki, the Alexander Swallowtail, made by a guy named Michael LaFosse. Michael LaFosse is like the Wayne Gretzky of origami. Okay, so I contact Michael LaFosse and I say, Mike, I need a blue butterfly. And it can't be a feminine, self-help, woo-woo, Boulder, Marin County butterfly. It has to be a badass butterfly. Just get in your mind, Mike, the concept that, imagine if a blue morpho had sex with a B-2 stealth bomber. What would that butterfly look like? And he created this butterfly. This is the Kawasaki Swallowtail. Have you ever heard of a Jobs swallowtail, Zuckerberg swallowtail, Gates swallowtail, Ballmer swallowtail, Ellison swallowtail? I don't think so. It's Kawasaki swallowtail. Cross off the bucket list. I got a butterfly named after me. So we put it on this cover. This is the cover of my book. And one more slide here, or two more slides here. First of all, to my utter chagrin, I never arranged for signing at this particular conference. But if you ever buy the book and you ask me to sign the book, I'm going to sign it. I'm going to explain to you. I sign it, resisting you is futile. I sign it on the outside because, first of all, it's faster to sign the outside. Secondly, the whole point in getting a book signed is to show off that you got it signed. You met the author. You know the author. So why would you put the signature on the inside? You should put it on the outside. You should broadcast that fact, right? It's like, when you all hit it rich and you buy Ferraris, for crying out loud, buy a red Ferrari. Okay? Don't buy a white Ferrari, buy a red one. You're going to hold it out. And the last point about this signing on the outside is it enables me to just send covers to you. So if you ever buy the book and you want an autograph, you could just go to that website and I'll get your address and I'll send you the cover. And I'm going to give you an easy way to get that address later. So that's the cover. I also explained that I sign a resisting you is futile. The reason why I explain my writing is because my writing is so bad. I had a book called Reality Check and another book called Art of the Start, and I used to sign it Kick Butt. And then one day this woman came up to me and said, "Why did you sign my book Nice Butt, guy?" I said, "Well, it's because you have a nice butt." But anyway, so now I'm telling you, and I'll tell you, I told this story about signing a book, Kick Butt, and the woman saying I signed it Nice Butt. And then I did a signing at a place, and a woman came up to me and said, "Guy, would you sign my book, Adequate Butt?" That was one of the funniest moments of my life. So now I have one more slide. I have this special here where, do you know about Presentation Zen, this book by Gar Reynolds? Great book about presenting. So right now there's a special running that if you buy Enchantment, you get Presentation Zen free. So it's not going to get any better than that. If you got Presentation Zen and Enchantment, I guarantee you'll raise money. Last slide, truly the last slide, I promise you. If you want the PDF of this presentation, send an email to Gina@garage.com. She'll be happy to help you. Right, Gina? Right. That's right. Secondly, my slides were made by AnnaFXFZ.com, a woman named Anna Frizzell. She makes great slides. Great slides. This presentation would cost about $3,500 to make. Question is, that's a lot of money. Is it worth it? Well, I speak 75 times a year. I mean, PowerPoint for me, my slides is like a cello for Yo-Yo Ma, right? So I don't think Yo-Yo Ma says, "Oh, what's the cheapest cello I can buy?" He buys a $2 million cello. I have spent $3,500 on my slides. If you need really great slides, she can do it for you. And the last thing, two things. If you want to capture those addresses for the autograph cover and the Presentation Zen special offer, just text MAC to 44133. You get a text message back with links, those two links. So that's a very easy way to capture it. Also, a lesson for you entrepreneurs. Many times you'll be speaking to an audience and you're going to end your speech by saying, "Well, if you'd like more information, go to, xyz.com or myhomebase.com or whatever your company's name is." And nobody ever does that. So this is a system that I embraced from a real estate company I learned. So this company does real estate stuff. So the scenario is you're driving through a neighborhood, you see a house that you're interested in, and it says, "Text this number to this number." You get a text message back that this is you're driving in Palo Alto, you text this message, you get this text message back, and it says, "This is a 2-bedroom fixer-upper in Palo Alto, $5 million. And so I said, well, that is a great way to capture people. So this is something that you might want to embrace, when you're making a pitch or a speech and you really want to capture the audience, give them an action item. You send them like this kind of system. Send a word to this thing and you get a text message back. A very clever use of technology from the real estate business. So that's truly my last slide. And that is as much as I can talk to you and explain to you about enchantment in half an hour. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I have a microphone on here, please? So we have, thank you very much. And Guy, there's no point in introducing you because, how can you follow this?
Yeah.
The guy talks himself.
That's what you told Gavin Newsom, too.
It is, too. There is one thing I'd like you to do, if you wouldn't mind.
I hope he doesn't have a nanny. Anyway.
one thing, if you wouldn't mind, please, people have been filling in forms to give a survey as to what they thought of this.
Okay.
And I'd like you to draw that. The prize is an Xbox, which we have here. So please, reach your hand in here, grab somebody, and let's bring out whoever
This is
you
not
think.
exactly business cards in here, huh?
No, they're not exactly business cards. So bring out one of these, and there should be a name somewhere on it.
It's Bill Riker.
No, it's not.
It's what's
Max
that? Max
L.
L.
Max. Yay, yeah. Max L. Good for you, Max. Please give him his Xbox. There you go.
Can you get me on TV?
Can I get you on TV?
No, a TV.
Oh, a TV.
Oh, get you a TV. There you go.
You're not my son. Not that I know of, anyway.
But thank you again, Guy, very much. That's terrific.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate it.
Good luck to you.
And for those of you who are waiting to find out who the companies most likely to succeed are, I'd just like to point out this little thing that was given to me. This is what's called a bribe by one of the companies. This is a starting point. So, you know, if others would wish to influence the outcome of the next few minutes, then we are open to bribes. And in the interest of keeping things moving forward, let us keep it moving forward. So we were going through what people are getting. Link Silicon Valley is giving it a free 1-year gold subscription. If you don't know Link Silicon Valley, you should do this. This is run by